All right, for more on this report and the general labor landscape, Anthony Chan, Chief Economist for Chase, joins me live from New York. Good to see you, Tony, and welcome to the show. Karina was talking about the youth, so let's start there. The numbers for youth unemployment are at 21%. Is that a concern for us, or is that perhaps an opportunity to fix that issue?
That has to be a concern because many of these young kids don't feel like they have a lot of opportunities. But one of the things you see is that when you go to college and you get a better education, unemployment rate for college graduates has been hovering below 4% for quite some time. So with more education, obviously, comes lower levels of unemployment.
Are you happy with the report? I mean, we've seen 288,000 jobs being created. They revised the last couple of months. The unemployment rate's going in the right direction. It seems to me that all the economists in the notes that I've read has been fairly upbeat.
I think it's very difficult not to like the report. The second question might be, am I satisfied with the report? And the answer is not satisfied, because one of the things that I saw was a number of part-time workers that are working for economic reasons rising close to 300,000. Number of part-time workers because they want to for non-economic reasons going up over 800,000. So over 1 million new jobs basically now are in part-time. So that's a little bit of a concern, but at the same time we are creating jobs. We've created all the jobs that we lost during the financial crisis. So the world is getting better, but one of the things we have to keep in mind is that this is a very weak economic expansion. In fact, of all the last 6 economic expansion, this economic expansion has generated real GDP growth of about 10%, or roughly half of what the prior 6 economic expansions have generated at this stage in the past.
Hourly earnings up 6 cents again for the month.
That has to be encouraging, because now we see that wages are rising by 2%, a little bit lower than the previous month on a year-over-year basis of 2.1%. But one of the things to keep here, and this is fascinating, is that we are still seeing a lot of slack in the labor force. And because of that, the Federal Reserve is not going to be raising interest rates very rapidly. So we're going to allow this economy to expand moving forward, because we don't need a sledgehammer from the central bank. One of the reasons why the Fed Chair, Janet Yellen, is saying that there are going to be no rush to raise short-term interest rates. So even though this has been a weak economic expansion, it will likely continue for quite some time.
One of the criticisms that was brought up, and you mentioned as well, is the part-time jobs market. So I guess my question is why? And one of the reasons that was brought up was, does it have anything to do with the Affordable Care Act?
Not really, because that would really fall under the heading of part-time workers for economic reasons. And if you look at part-time workers for economic reasons dating back to the start of the expansion back to 2009, you really haven't seen that much of an increase. In fact, out of the 2 components, part-time for non-economic reasons, that is because people want to work part-time, that one has been the stronger of the 2, and that obviously goes against the grain of the Affordable Health Care Act. Not to say that we might not see that over the next couple of years, but so far, no evidence in the data showing that that is the case.
Is it possible those part-time jobs could become full-time jobs in the future? Is that the natural cycle?
Absolutely, and that's one of the reasons why the central bank is being so patient, hoping that a lot of that slack, a lot of those workers that are working part-time will eventually start to increase their hours. Remember that when you're working part-time for economic reasons, you'd rather be working full-time. But even the other guys, they may be working part-time for non-economic reasons, because at this stage, they don't even think that they can find a job that they would really like for longer hours. And that could change as wages start to increase.
Tony, I'm looking at the report here. I'm looking at the areas that, and this is what I like to look at. I like to see which sectors are expanding: financial, healthcare, food, retail, professional services. I'm throwing in there manufacturing as well. Construction was a bit of a laggard. When you look at this report and you look at different sectors, if you were graduating from college today, where do you want to be looking for a job at right now?
Technology, certainly. When we look at big data, for example, over the next 18 months, the estimates are that we're going to create more big data in the next 18 months than we've created in the history of the United States. We're not only going to need people to manage it, but also people to use it and utilize it to actually increase marketing potential of companies. And certainly, when you look at the medical care profession, digitizing the records, and with the Affordable Health Care Act, there's certainly going to be a big demand for healthcare workers. So I think that there's going to be a lot of demand for workers over the next couple of years, and these are just some of the sectors that are going on. The energy renaissance. Remember that since 2010, we've increased the production of oil by almost 3 million barrels of oil per day. So as that transition continues, you're going to see a bigger demand for workers in that sector.
Tony, I got time for one more question. This is a bit of a curveball here, because in the report it talks about the different segments of population that are improving. And one of them is blacks. Second one is adult women. I'm just trying to understand this a little bit better. Help us understand what's going on here.
I think that that is very encouraging, because that is certainly saying that the labor market is broadening out. One indicator that I would really pay attention to is the Employment Diffusion Index of over 260 industries. It looks at how widespread the job gains are. And in this month, we saw that expanding. And so as more and more industries start to create jobs, it creates better opportunities for a lot of people. And by the way, as you lower the unemployment rate, companies become a little bit more enthusiastic about training workers. And unfortunately, a lot of the low-skilled jobs and jobs that require training are broadening out, and I'm very excited as a minority myself to see that they're going to be getting opportunities in this growing labor market.
All right, Tony, stay excited. Joining us from Chase, an economist there. Have a great holiday week.